there, history enthusiast! Welcome to A Time Machine of Words, our podcast on ancient Greek diplomacy. I'm your adventure guide, Caryl, and together we're diving into the whirlpool of city-states and, yes, diplomacy. Let's unravel how diplomacy played a crucial role in ancient Greece and its impact on modern practices.
Now picture this. Ancient Greece, a landscape dotted with politically independent city-states. These poleis often found themselves at odds over territorial disputes, which led to conflicts that were settled through battles. But what happened after the battles were over?
That's where diplomacy came in. After the dust settled, groups of citizens were sent as ad hoc embassies to represent their city-states. These embassies were composed of diverse citizens, each with their own negotiation strategy. But here's the catch. The lack of a centralized foreign policy institution meant that the assembly debated extensively about the actions of their representatives.
Now, brace yourselves for the twist. Diplomacy was a street play. No hidden meeting rooms, no VIP zones. Diplomats had to step up and address the entire town square using a blend of persuasive words and charisma to win over the crowd. Think about it as a persuasive contest, using rhetorical styles to sway the majority of citizens present.
And speaking of persuasive speeches, let's dive into an example from Homer's Iliad. In Iliad, Menelaus and Odysseus tried some verbal magic to get Helen back in the hopes of addressing the assembly with the hope of avoiding war. Spoiler alert, their plan hit a rocky road. Why? Because one guy, Antimachus, pulled the ultimate Uno reverse card, denying diplomatic immunity.
Moving on to the next part, which are the challenges and consequences faced by the diplomats upon returning home. Ancient Greek diplomats, known as proxenoi, confronted a host of challenges upon returning home from their diplomatic missions. These challenges were deeply rooted in the dynamic and competitive political landscape of Greek city-states. One of the foremost challenges was political opposition. Rival factions within a city-state often seized upon diplomatic missions as opportunities for criticism. Diplomats risked being accused of compromising their city-state's interests or making unfavorable agreements, which could lead to political backlash and a tarnished reputation. Accountability was another significant concern. Diplomats were held responsible for their actions, and any agreements seen as disadvantageous could subject them to scrutiny and even legal consequences. The ever-shifting political landscape of Greek city-states presented a continuous challenge. Diplomats returning home might find that political dynamics had evolved during their absence, rendering their negotiated agreements obsolete or ill-suited to the new circumstances. Adaptation and renegotiation were often necessary. In some cases, diplomats faced personal danger, particularly if their negotiations were exceptionally contentious or if they were perceived as betraying their city-states' interests. Ancient Greece, with its myriad of independent city-states, often found itself immersed in a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and diplomatic exchanges. Diplomacy played a crucial role in maintaining political stability and furthering the interests of these city-states. The role of diplomats, or proxenoi, in ancient Greek diplomacy was multifaceted and essential for the survival and prosperity of city-states. Their reports to their own assembly, the ecclesia, formed the backbone of decision-making in matters of foreign policy. Through careful preparation, skilled negotiation, and diligent information gathering, these diplomats shaped the course of history in the ancient Greek world, leaving a lasting legacy in the annals of diplomacy. Ancient Greek diplomacy, characterized by city-states such as Athens and Sparta, carried significant potential for persecution when unfavorable outcomes were not achieved. The intricate web of alliances, rivalries, and shifting power dynamics made diplomacy a high-stakes game. Firstly, it is important to note that Greek city-states often formed alliances to bolster their military and economic strength. Failure to uphold these alliances could lead to persecution in the form of exclusion from crucial support in times of conflict. Secondly, diplomacy in ancient Greece often involved delicate negotiations, and trust was a precious commodity. A city-state that failed to deliver on promises or treaties risked damaging its reputation and facing retribution. Furthermore, the competitive nature of Greek city-states meant that they were quick to exploit weaknesses. When one city-state suffered a military defeat or economic hardship, rival states would seize the opportunity to exploit their vulnerability. Persecution in the form of territorial annexations, economic sanctions, or political isolation was common. In conclusion, ancient Greek diplomacy was a perilous endeavor where unfavorable outcomes often led to persecution. The high stakes, intricate alliances, and competitive nature of city-states created an environment where trust and reputation were essential. Failure to achieve favorable outcomes could lead in exclusion, retaliation, political exile, or even military aggression. The complexities of ancient Greek diplomacy underscore the challenges and risks faced by those engaged in diplomatic efforts during this era.
So what made ancient Greek diplomacy unique? Ready for a tidbit that'll give you Olympic level knowledge? Ancient Greeks were like one big club. They spoke the same language, worshipped the same gods. This commonality eliminated linguistic and religious barriers. And did you know, cycles of war and peace were governed by observance of sacred feasts? Take the Olympic Games, for instance.
Moving on, let's explore the types of diplomats in ancient Greece. There were three kinds: angelos, kerix, and proxenus. Picture them like the Avengers, each with a special power in the art of negotiations, reflecting the dynamic nature of diplomacy which served the needs of the polis during that time.
But hey, there were some hiccups, and ancient Greeks' diplomatic approach had its limitations. Their approach didn't allow non-Greeks to participate and tended to prioritize individual polis needs. Sadly, these factors contributed to the downfall of ancient Greece and its inability to form alliances.
And there you have it! Ancient Greek diplomacy in a nutshell. Wow! What a roller coaster through ancient Greek diplomacy, right? We've journeyed through a time of unique negotiation practices, shared culture, and public diplomacy. As we wave goodbye, remember how this historical context continued to shape modern diplomacy. Thanks for joining us on this exploration, and we'll catch you on the next episode.